What has made mankind is an insatiable curiosity. Insatiable. What is that? Nobody knows. The phenomena.
Nobody's ever done this as far as I know.
It's a huge amount of work, a huge amount of data and equipment. That has never been done.
Whatever this is more complex than we could ever imagine.
This is a first in the field of ufology.
The variety of devices we're bringing as a team to study the phenomenon covered an entire spectrum of different technologies in real time.
That moment shook me to the core because I knew my life was about to change again.
I think we're going to have like a couple of really, really good spots.
When I hear that you've assembled a team of top scientists using state-of-the-art equipment, I say to myself, it's about time.
This is an unidentified, unclassified new phenomenon.
Wow, Tic Tacs. Maybe Tic Tacs.
Maybe.
Caught on our cameras.
Yep.
That's incredible.
Crazy. It isn't crazy, it's crazy. It's crazy.
We can go from body heat to very cold, like about minus 62 Celsius or minus 80 Fahrenheit. Wow. We will be transmitting data up to 800 terahertz in frequency. Our highest technology is up around 500 gigahertz.
I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to seeing what you've uncovered.
We're triangulating and converging at 2 points, the same object.
It's fading.
It's gone. It's gone. It's friggin' gone.
Got something over Catalina. We need you up here.
We could be heading towards the biggest "see I told you so" in history.
That's what we need, the smoking gun that'll clinch it. That once and for all will settle the debate. No ifs, ands, or buts. And in the process, rewrite all of human history.
Oh my God, you guys. Is this the wormhole? It's insane.
Caroline Corey, an award-winning filmmaker, author of best-selling books on consciousness science and energy medicine. As a child and throughout her life, Caroline has had numerous UFO encounters as well as ESP and precognition experiences, which led her to become deeply connected to various existential topics, the study of consciousness, the mechanics of the universe. Her latest film is called A Tear in the Sky. Caroline, welcome back. How are you?
Hi, George. I'm great. How are you doing?
Everything is good. We're going to talk a lot about your documentary. When did you do this? You just finished it this year, didn't you?
Yeah, it just came out a couple of months ago. And I'm very, very excited about it because it has a lot of new stuff.
Tell me about the title, A Tear in the Sky.
Yeah, so, I had the idea to do a movie on UFOs a couple of years ago. And to me, it's not just about UFOs. I'm interested in how do they get here? How is it possible that they show up, they zigzag in the sky and disappear? So I'm more interested in that aspect of the phenomenon. And so for me, I think it's related to maybe wormholes or openings or some sort of entry, exit points, if you will, in the fabric of space-time, because you see them and then you don't. So that's the reason why I wanted to call the movie a tear, like an opening in the sky. And, that was 2 years ago. And I think it was prophetic because we ended up, I don't want to talk too much about it yet, but we ended up finding something like a tear in the sky, which is pretty crazy.
Interesting. I had a physicist on before you came on, Caroline, and we were talking about life in outer space, and he believes that it's very possible. He doesn't believe we've been visited yet because he's not sure about the propulsion systems, but you just talked about a couple things that are very possible and conceivable.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we know that Einstein was talking. We know about the Einstein-Rosen bridge, which allows within the fabric of space-time, 2 points to collapse to create a sort of a wormhole, so that you can basically go faster than the speed of light. I think that if you are an advanced civilization, you are using a propulsion system that works along those lines. You're not going to travel, thousands of light years using our propulsion system. So I think that's how extraterrestrials would be visiting us. I'm very convinced of that, and that's the reason why they behave the way they do in the sky, So I think that's exactly what's going on.
Now, your investigation is scientific, but explain how you did that.
Yeah, so when I had the idea of making a UFO film, I didn't want to just rehash kind of the same topics that the government has data they're not releasing. We know it is a problem. We know that already. I wanted to try to see how do we validate this topic in a way that would be irrefutable, And so I thought we really need to do a scientific investigation. And as a filmmaker, you research the subject. Okay, did anybody do something like this? Just to have a kind of a point of reference. And I was shocked. I really did not find any coverage, any film, any group that had done an extensive scientific expedition. So that's why I was even more convinced, okay, it's time, let's do that, but how do we go about it? And so I started researching anybody, any scientist who was looking into it. And I stumbled first on Kevin Day. And I'm sure most people by now may know who Kevin Day is. He was the radar operator on the Navy ship, the USS Nimitz, in 2004. Mm-hmm. He was the first one who captured those famous Navy Tic Tac videos. And so I stumbled on him, and he told me the story. And he told me that he was already working with a couple of scientists, and it was his dream to do a scientific expedition. And so that's why we ended up, it was perfect kind of connection, and we teamed up. And we started discussing how would we go about it to make it scientific. And so, we had meetings after meeting, of course, and so we realized what is missing is the type of equipment. Because the problem with UFOs, you see on YouTube, people have great footage, but it's usually one camera, one angle, maybe two. There's a few witnesses, but you don't have correlations across multiple devices. You have one type of CCD camera or maybe a night vision. And so we said that's one of the problems we need to resolve. So we had multiple cameras, multiple night vision, multiple FLIR cameras, which reach in the very high infrared range, military grade. And so we had radiation detectors, we had magnetometers, we had...
You came prepared, didn't you?
Absolutely. We had hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment all working at the same time. So that was one aspect that made the expedition very different, very special. Also, another thing scientifically, in order to get more data on the UFO, you have to capture it hopefully from multiple angles, because then you're triangulating. You're getting, then you have, you can get data on the speed or, all sorts of types of information and data that normally you wouldn't get. So we were positioned in 3 different locations to try to triangulate and capture an object from multiple angles. That's another thing we did. And we were there for nonstop, 5 days, 5 nights.
That's intense.
Yeah, exactly. And so that we thought, we are going at it in a totally new way. It has never been done before. But, think about it, George. I mean, 5 days. How many people do you know who go on, UFO hunts for days and days and they don't see anything? So even with all of this equipment and this preparation, it was really a huge, huge gamble. But we did it. We did it, and we captured amazing things.
Tell us what your main take is on UFOs personally. What do you believe?
I believe that it's a combination. The phenomenon is just not one thing. I think that's the biggest confusion. We want to kind of think that UFOs are extraterrestrial or it's the government hiding or something. I think it's both, and I think it's even more than that. I think some of them, the triangular ones especially, I believe they are our own, military or otherwise. And I think some other types of UFOs are, to me, 100% UFOs. I mean, extraterrestrial. Because the propulsion, speaking of propulsion system, the propulsion system they use also, we were able to measure the temperature on these UFOs, which, again, that's another thing, another added data that tells us it is an anomaly. So these objects were registering cold. So what kind of propulsion system do you know that will allow a craft to travel at very high speed and have a cold temperature, meaning, minus 61, minus 52? It just doesn't happen. It's a propulsion system. To me, it's a technology that is extraterrestrial.
Tell me.
And
Go ahead.
On top of that, I think part of the phenomenon is also atmospheric events. I think there's a lot that we don't understand. There are certain types of maybe plasma events or, types of light and plasma combination, we don't really know. We know a lot, but not enough, I think. And there could be some events that are simply atmospheric that we just don't understand. So that's why the UFO phenomenon is much bigger and more complex than we think.
You mentioned earlier wormholes as a possible way of them traveling. Did you come across anything scientifically that could back that up?
Well, yeah. That's why I'm so excited about this film, because that was the main capture of the film. I don't want to spoil the surprise for those who haven't seen it, but still, even if I talk about it, you still have to see it because it's never been captured on film before. And so what happened was, on the last day, on one of the camera, we see a sort of a cloud, some sort of a cloud-like thing that opens and closes and very quickly and reveals about 50 to 100 small objects. On the camera they were small, but and so we know, of course, now don't forget, I just want to remind the folks listening that we're working with scientists, so very hardcore scientists. So these guys aren't going to look at something and say, oh, we captured a UFO. The idea is to really try to debunk ourselves, say, well, wait, maybe it's a camera glitch. Maybe it's a light effect. Maybe it's a reflection of the city somehow or something. Maybe it's a bug. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. Of course, that's the first thing we do, and nothing checks out. On top of this, we have a radar that picks up actual objects. Now, radar doesn't pick up on radiation, doesn't pick up on light. It picks up on objects, reflective objects. So these are actual reflective objects that appear, and then the cloud closes. It opens and closes, revealing these objects. So what is that? What do you call that? And so it's captured on tape. I've never seen anything like it anywhere. And sure enough, we also cross-reference with, for example, NASA with, different organizations, ERNI, all the different organizations that have data, for example, on some cosmic radiation event, even solar flares. We thought, well, maybe it's some sort of solar, flare that had some sort of effect or something. Nothing is checking out that would explain this event.
Were you surprised? Were you surprised that you captured this?
Very surprised. Very surprised. And to date, now the film has been out. We presented the data at SCU, which is the Scientific Coalition of UFOs, UAPs. And, there's many scientists who looked at it. So it's not like we're the only ones. We sent it to atmospheric, scientists who, in that field. We showed it to multiple experts in the field. We don't have anybody who can give us a really logical explanation. So it's crazy. And on top of this, since the movie's been out, we continue to try to find even more data. So we started connecting with satellite agencies, private and governmental satellite agencies, to see if we could get satellite images of this thing. And so, of course, we send them the coordinates, the time, because we were able to, the people will see it in the film. We know exactly where it's located. We know its size. We know its shape. We know the whole, that whole data we have. It's in the film. And so we send that off to satellite agencies. Nobody can give us any images. Either they didn't have them or they didn't want to give it to us.
Or they're holding back.
And then, who knows? But then we file a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act request, which comes back, what? It's classified.
Classified?
So, classified. It's FOIA exempt, exactly that particular time, that particular coordinates, that particular date. We have the letter, the rejection letter. Sorry, we can't give you that information. It is classified. What do you make of that?
Well, they're hiding something.
So that's why. It's so if we can. Well, maybe it's classified because they're doing some sort of military thing. But what exactly at that time? And there's nothing else. No, we didn't see any military planes or anything. And that wormhole-like anomaly is not very high up. It's like 1,800 feet up in the sky. So, we didn't see any other kind of military anything. So why aren't they giving us the data?
Is it constantly changing, the wormhole? Or is it there, stationary?
That's a good question. I think some natural forming wormholes are always there, obviously, because they're part of the fabric of space, and others that are not man-made, that are created from some sort of warping from a UFO or something, are there only when the craft is there. But what was fascinating is that people will see that in the movie. In the trailer, you have a glimpse of that. You have 50 objects. We were able to, the scientist was able to actually measure the size of these objects, and each one was about 35 to 50 feet. And there were about 50 of them, like I said, like a fleet, which was interesting because if you recall, that was the size. That was the size of the Tic Tac, and several of the Navy folks mentioned a fleet of Tic Tacs, not just one, not just two, but a fleet. And we also heard about swarms of those Tic Tacs. I think it was the USS Omaha at the time. So, what's going on there? I believe that those particular wormholes may still be there in that region. That's my personal take and opinion, just because so many Navy ships have reported these types, not the wormholes, but these types of objects swarming their ships and appearing in groups like that. So, I mean, that's pretty crazy.
How do people see your film?
Yeah, they can see it on Amazon, iTunes, but they can also watch it for free now. They can stream it for free on Crackle, Plex, Roku, Tubi TV.
Can they get to it through your website, atearinthesky.com?
Yeah, I think the website is easier. Just go to atearinthesky.com and just click on Watch the Movie, and they'll see all the platforms.
Caroline, are you happy with the results of your film, The Tear in the Sky?
Oh, yeah, 100%, because, what people are going to see is not just the regular UFO things that you see pretty much everywhere on YouTube. We were able to capture very unusual things, with FLIR cameras. The FLIRs are about 10 times more sensitive than the night vision. It's industrial grade FLIR cameras. And we saw some things that we captured things we've never captured before. And so I think I really encourage people, UFO folks or otherwise, to really check it out just to see those clips, all sorts of things literally falling down in the water, multiple objects falling in the water, hitting the water, illuminating the water. I've never seen anything like it before. In the UFO world. And of course, the wormhole anomaly, which is insane, So because of that, I'm very, very happy with what we've captured on those devices and the correlations. In other words, it's not just one type of device. It's correlating with radiation, with other anomalies happening across devices. So because of that, I think we've done something that's never been done before. And I'm very, very excited about it.
Was your crew excited too?
Yes, we were pretty blown away. And like I said, even after the film, we in 5 days, we collected thousands and thousands of hours of data. The scientists are still going through it now, even 3 months, 4 months after the movie has been out, because has been done, because it's a lot of work to really study frame by frame what's going on, and so I think we were overwhelmed actually. And George, this tells us something. Imagine we are civilians. If anything, what this movie did is not only bring very unusual and new types of footage for everyone to see, but think about it. In 5 days, we are civilians, right? Of course, we had the proper equipment. We had a very large amount of equipment. But still, in 5 days, for us to capture that many UFOs on camera across multiple devices, that tells you, if we did that as civilians, you can't tell me that the government, with all their radars, all their sophisticated equipment and infrared vision things, devices, those types of $1 million devices, you can't tell me they don't have data. It doesn't even make sense. So that's another reason why this film is so important, to validate the topic and to say, stop telling us stories. The data's out there. We just went out. We collected a whole bunch. Please check it out. You know what I mean?
In 2018, you wrote a book called The Divine Plan, Now and Beyond 2250. How did you look out so far? That's 228 years away.
Yeah, actually, I wrote this book in 2007 originally. And, that's part of my work, like I said, since I was a child, tapping into the larger consciousness of life. I started to see certain things about the future, the potential. Of course, it depends. There's different timelines because we create the future as we go along. But there are certain things that have been created from 200,000 years ago. In other words, one generation after another, creating a type of civilization that's creating sort of energy that has accumulated enough momentum that it is going to have a certain outcome. In other words, if you already threw a ball, if it's already in flight, you can already predict where it's going to hit and when it's going to hit. But if you haven't thrown the ball yet, then you have multiple probability and multiple potentials. So I talk about the events that have accumulated enough momentum, they're already in flight, so to speak, that are the most likely to happen. And so I saw that it extended for another 250 years from now. And that's in all aspects of our civilization. I'm talking about government, not just the economy, but the whole structure, the systems that we live in, from education to agriculture to the environment, and also to the future human. How is the future human going to develop? So I had those visions and those insights for a long time, and I thought I would share them in a book.
Caroline, thank you for being on the program. A Tear in the Sky, the great documentary, available off her website, atearinthesky.com. The Coast mobile app is now available for download on iPhones and Android devices. You can become an insider directly through this app. This is a great option for our international listeners, and new users will also receive a free 2-week trial.